All right, guys. I recorded today in class this review, and I jumped in. I don't know. While I already had this program open, and for some reason I checked it tonight after I put it on YouTube, and there's no writing on it. You can hear me, you can see my mouse moving, but you can't see any writing. So hopefully it'll work this time. I only have a short period of time, so I'm going to try to do this really quick. But I wanted to do a good review for the test that we're going to take tomorrow. So here it is. I'm going to go pretty straightforward. So numbers 1, 2, and 3 are going to be problems like this. I'm going to give you two lines with a transversal. I'm going to give you some numbers in here. They may not be marked exactly like this. And what you have to do, I'm going to give you some, like number 1 would be something like this. I'd say, what is the, well, the problem says identify each pair of angles as, and then I give you 4 options: corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior, or consecutive interior. So for instance, number 1 might say 1 and 5. What are they? What's the relationship between angles 1 and 5? And you would tell me that they're corresponding angles. Then number 2 might be something like this. I'll say, what is the relationship between angle 3 and angle 6? And you would say that they're alternate interior angles. I'll give you a couple more. Let's say 2 and 7. 2 and 7 would be alternate exterior angles. And then the last set, now there's only 3 problems, but it could be any of these 4. So 4 and 6, what's the relationship between them? They are consecutive interior angles. So on 1, 2, and 3, you just write those words. I'll tell you which angles to look at, and you tell me, are they corresponding? Are they alternate interior? Are they alternate exterior? Or are they consecutive interior? And that's all you have to do. You just pick one of those 4 and you write it down. Okay, it's pretty easy, no math involved. You just have to know the names of those relationships. Now, 4, 5, 6, and 7, so I'll just write 4 through 7. Okay, 4, 5, 6, and 7 is going to be the same idea, except you're going to have parallel lines. Like on the other one, I didn't really say if they were parallel or not. And I may give you something, well, let's do this. We'll number them again: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I'll actually put some numbers in here, and you got to find the missing angles. So for instance, I don't know, let's say angle 4, I told you, like number 4 said angle 4 was equal to, I don't know, 130 degrees. And then I would ask you what one of the other angles is equal to. So I could ask you what angle 5 is equal to. Well, angle 5, again, these are parallel to each other. Right, so if I told you angle 4 was 130, you'd have to find out what angle 5 was. So in that situation, they're alternate interior angles. They're equal to each other, so angle 5 would also be 130. I could give you angle 4 was 130 and ask you what angle 6 was. All right, so 4 and 6, they're consecutive interior angles. They're supplementary to each other, so that means if you add them up, they would equal 180. So if this is 130, then this is 50, and so on. Okay, I'll give you certain angles, tell you a degree. You got to find the other angle that I ask for. So that's numbers 4 through 7. 8 and 9 are similar to that. I'll tell you what, I'm not going to draw anything else. I'm just going to put 8 and 9 right here. So numbers 8 and 9, instead of just giving you actual numbers, I'm going to give you like some letters. I'll give it to you so you have to set it up as an equation. Okay, so it's going to have an x in it. So for instance, I don't know if this will come out right or not. I'm just going to make something up here. So let's say I give you angle 4 is 130, and I said angle 5 is like 5x minus 10 or something. I don't know. I don't know if this comes out very well or not. I kind of doubt it will come out even, but I'll give you ones that come out nice and even. So what would you do? If I told you angle 5 was 5x minus 10 and angle 4 was 130, and you had to solve for x. So 8 and 9 says solve for x. All right, so you just find the relationship. What's the relationship between them? Well, they're equal to each other. So what do? You set them equal to each other. So 5x minus 10 equals 130. I don't know if that comes out nice or not, but you just do the math, you solve for x, and you're good to go. So that's numbers 8 and 9. So you will have to set up a little bit of algebra, solve the problem, and then just solve for x. You don't have to plug it back in or anything like that. You just solve for x. That's 8 and 9. All right, let's keep going. We're almost halfway done. That was quick. So number 10, 10, 11, and 12. So 10, 11, and 12. They're going to be the things that we've talked about fairly recently. So number 10 will be the distance. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 2 points. All right, so there's 1 point, there's another point. I don't know, just make up some numbers here. 5, -3, 1, 7. I don't know, I'm just making these up. All right, so on number 10, I'm going to ask you to find the distance between those 2 points. So you use the distance formula. I'll show you the distance formula. This is something you're going to need to know. You're going to need to know how to use. All right, it's a little not that straight of a line, but that's okay. All right, so what's the distance formula? Well, it's just x2 minus x1, or x1 minus x2. It doesn't make any difference. Y2 minus y1. Again, it doesn't make any difference what order you put them in. But this would be like your x1 and your y1. This would be your x2 and your y2. And you just plug the numbers in and find the distance, okay? It'll come out to the square root of something. If it comes out to the square root of something that, like, I don't know, this is not this, okay? I'm just making up a number. But if it comes out to the square root where you can't, simplify it, it's perfectly fine. But if it comes out to like the square root of a number that comes out to be an even number, like the square root of 36 comes out to be a nice whole number, then you should write it as a nice whole number, all right? If it comes out to be, I don't know, like the square root of 72, you don't have to simplify that. If you just want to keep it the square root of 72, that's perfectly fine. Do not do this. Do not put this into a calculator and give me a decimal, all right? Either it comes out to a nice whole number or it doesn't, and if it doesn't, you just keep it under the square root. All right, so number 11 would be to find the midpoint between 2 points. So I'm going to give you, all 3 of these have different sets of points. They're not all the same points, but they ask you different things as well. So this one says find the midpoint. All right, so the midpoint, you got to know the formula for that. So the midpoint is a point. So it's an ordered pair. Point's an ordered pair. It's mid, the middle, so that would be halfway. The middle is always halfway, so you divide by 2. And then you take the x's. This time you add the x's together. Don't subtract them. And then you take the y's and you add the y's together. So that's how you find the midpoint. All right, so you take the 2 x's, add them, divide by 2, simplify it. And then you take the 2 y's, you add them up, divide by 2, simplify it, and you're good to go. All right, and then the third one, number 12, would be the slope. Find the slope. And you have to know the little formula for finding the slope. We know it as rise over run, but if you remember, we talked about the change in y over the change in x, or y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Got to make sure that the y's are on top and the x's are on the bottom. It doesn't, why did I put y2 minus y2? It's supposed to be a 1. y2 minus y1, okay? So anyway, that's the slope formula, and it just comes out to a number. It'll come out to a fraction. Like, I don't know, -2/3, or it could come out to a whole number. It could come out to like 4 or 4 over 1. That's how you write it. Now, if it comes out like, I don't know, -4 over 6, all right, you need to simplify this. You really should simplify it. 2 goes into both of those. That would be -2 over 3. All right, so your answer is going to look like a fraction or a whole number. This is going to look like a point. All right, so it's going to be a point, like -3, 4, or something like that, okay? This is going to come out to be a square root, or a number, a whole number, or a square root of something. So make sure you know the difference between all 3 of those. So that's up to 12. Now, number 13 is you're going to find the x and y intercepts of an equation. So find the x-intercept and find the y-intercept. I'm just making up an equation right here. I don't know, y equals 3x plus 2. Let's make it really easy. No negatives or anything. So to find the x-intercept, we set y equal to 0. All right, and then to find the y-intercept, we set x equal to 0. So if we were going to do this problem, I'll do it super quick. Set the y equal to 0. So 0 equals 3x plus 2. Subtract 2 from both sides. All right, that's a negative 2 equals 3x. Divide by 3. Divide by 3. So x is negative 2. Whoops, negative 2/3. It's not your answer, though. Okay, the x-intercept is an actual point. So we need to write it as an ordered pair. So the x always goes first. That's your negative 2/3. And then the y, we set y equal to 0. So that's going to be 0. So that's your x-intercept. I said this probably wouldn't come out nice and even. It doesn't, but that's okay. That's still your point. Okay, put an x in for 0 to find the y-intercept. So let's do that. So I'm going to put y equals, and then 3 times 0. What's 3 times 0? It's 0 plus 2, y equals 2. It's pretty easy. And then we put the ordered pair. What was the x? Well, we set x to be 0. So x is 0. We found the y to be 2. There it is. That's the x-intercept, and there's the y-intercept. So that's how you do number 13. I need to hurry because I have to go shoot National Junior Honor Society in just about 5 minutes. Okay, so what are we doing now? Find the midpoint slope, x-intercepts. Okay, number 14 and 15. That was number 13. I don't know if I wrote that down or not. I can't remember. But this is number 14 and 15. And it says, just write the slope-intercept form of the equation of a line. So I might give you something like this. I might give you something like 4x plus 3y equals 12 or something like that. And it says, write the slope-intercept form. What is the slope-intercept form? Well, it's y equals mx plus b. I'm only going to do one of these because 14 and 15 are kind of the same. So I need to take this whole thing right here and turn it into this. So I got to solve for y. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract a 4x from both sides. So 3y equals negative 4x, right? I subtracted a 4x here. It canceled out. Subtract a 4x here, and I put it out in front because the x is first here, plus 12. We talked about that in class. You can always go back and watch the YouTube video on that. Divide everything by 3. So we divide that by 3, that by 3. And then y equals, you just write this, negative 4 over 3. Just keep it like that. This is times x. We just stick an x out in front, plus 12 over 3, which is 4. And that would be in slope-intercept form. 14 and 15 are both just like this. Okay, 16 and 17. I got to show you now. Hopefully you're still with me. So 16 and 17. We taught something today, and it's going to be on the test tomorrow, but it's actually pretty easy. I'm going to ask you to graph 5 different lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. So this is number 16 through 20. It's all graphing. I just asked you to graph some things. So I'm only going to do 16 and 17. The other ones, you can just look at the old homework, the lesson that I taught on it, on how to graph. I'm not going to go through that, but it's just all graphing. But I will show you 16 and 17. So 16, I'm going to give you something like this. It's going to say y equals something. I don't know. Let's just say 4. So whenever it's y equals something, just a number, and there's no x here at all, this is going to be a horizontal line. I'm not going to go through all the reasoning why, all right? But just know, I talked about it a little bit today. It's a horizontal line. So if I was to graph, it's super easy, I promise you. That's why I can teach it today and test you on it tomorrow, because it's really easy. So when it's just y equals a number, what we do is come on the y-axis, since it says y equals on the y-axis, and find where 4 is. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you just put a dot there. And what kind of line is it? It's a horizontal line. So all you do is just draw a horizontal line through y equals 4. All right, just like that. It's as easy as that. It's really simple. Number 17, what do you could probably guess what x equals, right? X equals a number. Let's just put a negative in here. Negative 2, let's say. So if y equals a number is horizontal, then x equals a number is what? Well, you're right. It's vertical. So it's a vertical line. Where do we put the dot? Well, we put it at x equals negative 2. So we come over here on the x-axis. We find where negative 2 is. Negative 2 is right there. We put a dot. And what kind of line do we draw? We draw a vertical line. So this would be a vertical line. Move it over just a touch. And just put the arrows. Oops. Let's try not to do that. Let's put an arrow here and an arrow there. There's my 2 lines. This one right here is x equals negative 2. This one right here is y equals positive 4. All right, that's brand new. All right, but I think I can test it on it tomorrow because it's really pretty simple. Just understand if it's y equals just a number, there's no x on it. It's just y equals a number. It's horizontal. When it's x equal a number, then it's vertical. All right, so how do I know which way it goes? Well, it goes through the x-axis. So I put a dot on the x-axis at -2 right there, and my line's going to go up and down. It's going to go vertical. Right here with the y, I put a dot on the y-axis, right, on the y-axis at +4. So I come up here to +4, and then I put a line horizontally. That's all you got to remember. Now, I'm not really going to give you examples for 18, 19, and 20. They're just basic graphing problems, all right? So they just give you an equation, and you just have to graph it. I will give you the graphs on the answer sheet. I actually have them printed on the answer sheet with the graphs. All right, that's enough. I think I did that fairly quickly. Hopefully the video will come out this time, and good luck on the test tomorrow.